We've got an action-packed lineup for today. We're going to be looking at some real interesting topics around students' well-being and personal well-being in schools. And we've got an amazing lineup. So some of the things that I want to just talk about today is around how can we inspire that next generation of young people? How can we get young people to reach their full potential? And the theme today is we're going to be focusing deep down into what are the intrinsic things that we should be doing in our classroom to raise that level of morale. I said good morning and no one said good morning back. Good morning. Nice, there's life out there. So now, we're going to be focusing on music technology to reach your full potential. And we've got some amazing acts coming up. So I want to welcome on the stage now, Ruti, the finalist of The Voice for 2018. And she's got an amazing performance. So everyone give a round of applause for Ruti. Thank you.
Every year group to use the technology. We'll do things like sequencing and composing on the computers. So much lesson time is wasted if something doesn't work. You just lose the kids. It's really important that it's just there and it works.
We sort of came to Counterpoint, and what they give us is the freedom to not have to worry about something going wrong. The technology side of it is the part that allows the students to realise what they're trying to create in their head.
Having one big connected system is really handy, especially in music. It can kind of come at the drop of a hat. If you can kind of go, I love the sound of that, and pull that and play with it then and there, that's where you get your creativity.
Ruti is an incredibly talented musician. She's not just a singer.
The winner of The Voice 2018 is Ruti!
It's nice to see them go out and be successful and do well in the world. Like, especially with Ruth, I'm like, oh, she's all grown up. She had natural musical ability and she learned how to use the recording studio to produce the highest quality sort of work that she could. Just giving them the opportunity with so much technology that we have in this department. You know, I know that's not an opportunity that they would get at a different school.
We're now delighted to welcome onto the stage to showcase her exceptional talent, Ruti, the winner of The Voice 2018.
Trip I would like to go someday. Take me to New York, I would love to see LA. I really want to come kick it with you. You'll be my American boy. He said, hey sister, it's really, really nice to meet ya. I just met this 6-foot-something guy, he's just my type. Like the way he's speaking, his confidence is peaking. Don't like his baggy jeans, but I'ma like what's underneath them. No, I ain't been to MIA. I heard that Cali never rains and New York's hard to wait. First let's see the West End, I will show you to my brethren. I'm liking this American boy. Take me on a trip, I would like to go someday. Take me to New York, I would love to see LA. I really want to come kick it with you. You'll be my American boy, American boy. La da da, da 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 da. La da 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 da. Would you be my American boy? we get away this weekend? Take me to Broadway. Let's go shopping, maybe then we'll go to a cafe. Let's go on the subway. Take me to your hood. I've never been to Brooklyn and I'd like to see what's good. Dressed in all your fancy clothes, sneakers looking fresh to death. I'm loving them short toes. Walking that walk, talk that slick talk. I'm liking this American boy. Take me on a trip, I would like to go someday. Take me to New York, I would love to see LA. I really want to come kick it with you. You'll be my American boy. Would you be my love, my love? Would you be my love? Would you be my American boy? Take me on a trip, I would like to go someday. Take me to Chicago, San Francisco Bay. I really want to come kick it with you. You'll be my American boy. Take me on a trip, I would like to go someday. Take me to New York, I would love to see LA. I really want to come kick it with you. You'll be my American boy, American boy. When it all gets too much, you give me the sweetest touch. The feeling when you're around, lifting me off the ground. You know the words to say when I can't find my way. You're like the coolest shade there on the hottest day. When the heat gets too much, you're like cold, cold water. You're washing over me like a gentle breeze. You're cold, cold water. You're all I ever need. I couldn't do this without you. I couldn't do this without you. When I can't sleep at night, you send me back like the tide. No matter what's on my mind, you are a lullaby. And if I lose control, still you go with the flow. You're like the coolest shade there on the hottest day. When the heat gets too much, you're like cold, cold water. You're washing over me like a gentle breeze. You're cold, cold water. You're all I ever need. I couldn't do this without you. I couldn't do this without you. I was lost in the desert, and I was found in the rain. Ooh, ooh. And you hold me together just before I break. Ooh. And when the heat gets too much, you're like cold, cold water. You're washing over me like a gentle breeze. You're cold, cold water. You're all I ever need. I couldn't Thank you.
Once again, can we please give it up for Ruti? Amazing performance. If you want to take a seat over there, Ruti, thank you. Now we've got a really interesting conversation about music and technology and potential. So I want to welcome up our speaker, Duncan Mackrill. If you want to come to the stage, thank you. Give a round of applause for Duncan Mackrill. So Duncan is our senior lecturer at University of Essex. So if you want to take a seat, Duncan, thank you. Next one on stage is Faye Beamish. Nice to meet you. Take a seat. Thank you. And the next release is Andy Close. Nice to meet you. So we've got a really interesting conversation. Over to you, Duncan. Thank you to introduce.
Thank you. So what we're seeking to do this morning is try to identify some of the key benefits for music technology that enables students to reach their full potential and what needs to be in place for this to happen. And we're going to highlight in the case of Ruti, but others in Gable Hall School. So Faye, you must be delighted that Ruti's been so successful, and we're going to hear from Ruti a little bit later about how she's been supported by the school. But could you give us a snapshot of your school and your music department?
Certainly. So Gable Hall School is just a regular co-educational academy school based in Thurrock in Essex. We have a specialism of performing arts in our school, so we attract a lot of really talented pupils. Obviously, everyone in the school is exceptionally proud of Ruti, but we've also had Louisa Johnson, who won the X Factor, is one of our students as well. Some of our students are in diversity, and we've had students in films as well.
Great. So how do you do music technology at Gable? Does it start at Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important for us to embed music technology from year 7. So as soon as students enter the school, we start to get them used to using their technology. We start with basic keyboard and GarageBand skills, things like that. Getting them to read and understand music as well as using the technology at the same time. We then move on to things like film music, where we can put silent films into Logic or GarageBand, and the students can compose their own music. In Year 9, we do things like electric dance music and get them to create their own tracks. We find that they really engage well with the technology. So even those that perhaps aren't naturally musical or play an instrument can make music in that way.
So we know from our own research at University of Sussex that we carried out with 464 secondary schools in England that music and arts are being squeezed by the EBAC and other performance measures. But it seems your school's different, so what's made that different?
I think for us it's a lot about the passion and commitment of the teachers across all of the performing arts in our school. We are being squeezed as much as any other school in terms of budget and things like that, but our dedication and commitment means that we still put in the time and the energy to ensure that we nurture children. We really believe that creativity through the curriculum is really important to support kids in their academic studies, to give them an outlet to be creative and imaginative. And these are skills that all employers are looking for as well, not just grades on a bit of paper.
So how does music technology specifically benefit your students, do you think?
I think it's really good for us because when pupils go out into the world of work, we live in a more and more technological society these days. It's important that we're preparing our students to go out into the real world with the technology they'll be using once they get into the recording studio or the music industry.
And are they separate, that you do music technology or you do music, or are they interlinked?
We run both courses. So we run music at Key Stage 3. They just study basic music skills. At Key Stage 4, they can opt to take music technology as well, which is where they start to learn more about the recording studio that we have at school and using our theatre space that we have and things like that.
I'd like to bring Andy in now. Andy, how do you think music technology facilitates students to reach their full potential in music?
Well, when technology's working really well in music, it's an incredibly powerful enabler of creativity. Matt Thompson said it brilliantly in the video that we saw earlier. that creativity is a process, it's a flow that you get into, and the technology needs to facilitate that. If the technology is not working well, it does completely the opposite. It stifles creativity.
So moving to Ruti. Ruti, can you give us a little flavour of your sort of musical journey through school and getting to The Voice? What's your own experience of music at Gable Hall?
Well, I definitely remember in Year 7 being taught like the basics of GarageBand, so we'd make like little short pieces of music, and I really enjoyed that. And I did take GCSE when I was in Year 9, which is more in depth. We looked at like kind of how to structure our songs and how to structure our compositions, and that's where I kind of started to realize that I really enjoyed doing music and I really enjoyed composing, and I wanted to go into like production, so I took music tech at A-level and music performance as well. And with music tech I was really able to develop my skills producing through like Logic Pro X and learning how to create my own sounds and use the sounds that are available, but also I can now set up like a microphone in the studio and I can record on my own quite independently, which is really helpful for me, especially if I'm just writing on my own, yeah.
So if that music technology equipment hadn't been there, do you know what the differences would have been?
Well,
would it have been a significant disadvantage to you, do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely it would, because I wouldn't be prepared. I wouldn't be as prepared as I am now to go into the music industry and work in studios. Of course, they have the professional engineers in there, but I feel like I can talk to them easier because I understand what they're saying and they understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
I think as well with an industry like music, and for someone so young, it helps to know what you're talking about. Ruti's got a particular style and a very clear vision of her music and where she wants to go. And it's important that she doesn't just get guided by people who perhaps aren't on the same sort of pathway as she is.
Yeah. Thank you. And Faye, obviously putting technology into school costs a lot of money. So why the investment in technology in your school, and what's enabled that to happen?
We've been really lucky that our SLT is very supportive in terms of technology. So throughout the school, we have a range of computers, approximately 1 to every 2 students. Again, SLT understand that it's important to invest in technology in order to prepare our students when they go out into the wider world. Technology is changing all the time. We need to have the most up-to-date equipment. Otherwise, when pupils get out into the real world and they start working, they're not familiar with it, and we want our students to reach their full potential and to get the best jobs that they possibly can in whatever industry they go into.
And were you successful in producing, shall we say, elite musicians before you had the technology, or did it go hand in hand, or one followed the other?
I think that they've gone hand in hand, really. I mean, we've always put a lot of time and effort into the music department and sort of nurturing our pupils from Year 7. And the technology just helps to facilitate that and helps to engage the pupils and get them excited about music and just brings them on even faster.
Okay, thank you. Andy, historically, music teachers have spent a lot of time troubleshooting and trying to fix problems in music classroom with computers. Why is that?
Well, I think the challenge is that most of the technology is not designed to be used in an educational environment. So if you look, for example, at the professional software applications that musicians wish to use, they're designed to be used in a recording studio or in a personal production suite. That software is not designed to run on a network in a multi-user environment, and that can cause a real headache if you don't address those issues. Lots of schools want to use Macs, and music departments need joined up departments because they need to be able to begin work in the classroom, move that work into the recording studio and bring it back. So we actually need Macs on a network, and there are real challenges for networking Macs. And I think also there are challenges having the technical expertise and maintaining the expertise within a school. there tends to be a reasonably high turnover of technical staff in schools, and I think it's a challenge to keep the staff with the music technical expertise. Gable Hall, in that respect, has been extremely fortunate with the music technology staff. They have managed to maintain their staff, and they have decided to outsource their support for some of their Macs as well, and I think that's meant that the whole system has just worked really well for them consistently and enabled them, well, it enables their teaching staff to focus on what they do best and enables their students to thrive.
So you mentioned they're outsourcing. What does that mean?
Well, I think it's extremely hard for schools to keep hold of. I mean, one example in the field that we work, it's very hard for schools to consistently keep Mac expertise on board. They tend to have it for a period of time and it goes, and it's very hard to get Mac expertise which is really experienced at delivering for the creative subjects. And I think if you're in a school where you don't have that internally, I think it's very wise to actually look and see if you can find outside expertise, because it needs to be consistent. I mean, if it works for 2 years and then stops in year 3 and the whole thing falls apart. I mean, I was talking earlier about the importance of the technology working well so it doesn't interrupt teaching and creativity. So I think that's the reason that outsourcing is potentially a really crucial factor.
Faye, has that worked for you?
Yeah,
enabled you to
absolutely.
concentrate on the teaching?
Yeah, for us, what we find at school, as Andy was saying, most of our IT technicians are very experienced with Windows computers, but not so much with Macs. And what Counterpoint provide for us is that if me or my colleagues have an issue with any computer, we just email them, and the problem's usually sorted within a few minutes. It's very, very quick. It's very, very simple, which means that we can get on with teaching the students. When they come into a classroom, try to log onto a computer. If it doesn't work and we have to try and sort it out ourselves, it just takes up lesson time, and you might have 30 other students in the room that are then not getting the attention that they require and they deserve from a teacher. So being able to just quickly send an email and have the problem sorted out by an external source is, it's brilliant for us.
And Andy, music tech seems to be everywhere commercially, in performing, in listening, in composing, in recording. Do you think you can do music now without using technology?
Yes, I think the answer is yes, if you're intending to become a solo violinist or a classical musician. But if you're doing almost any other kind of music in the industry, having some technical skills is invaluable, whether you're doing music as a personal hobby or whether you're going to go out into the industry. Having some basic skills is invaluable, and it's also very transferable. I mean, it's not just in the music industry. You've got the pro audio industry, the broadcast industry. They all use many of the same skills: microphone techniques, mixing desks, audio processors, routing. All those things that you learn in the music technology classroom are skills equipping you for real-world jobs in the future.
Just returning to our research, one of the worrying things that we found in our research is that the number of centres offering music technology at A-level has dropped 31.7% over the last few years. So there are fewer centres offering music technology, so obviously there's going to be fewer students being able to access that unless they move to different schools. Faye, what's your view of that?
I think it's a tragedy, to be honest. The British music industry is one of the fastest growing industries in this country. In 2017, it's estimated it brought in £4.7 billion to the UK. And if we are not preparing our students to go into that industry, it will die. Other countries are, coming up behind us all the time. Obviously, America has a very strong music scene, and it's important that we can compete and that our young people are being trained to compete in that industry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, Andy, how does the use of technology, do you think, in music have an impact on learning the soft skills that we hear quite a lot about in and out of the classroom? What's different about music? Are there transferable skills we can have in music and music technology?
Yes, yeah, I think there are. In fact, I think music is extremely strong in that area, because what we want in the workplace are people who are able to come up with their own ideas, to own those ideas. in music, you're extremely vulnerable. When you create your own piece of music and you first show it to someone else, that's a really daunting thing. And these are the skills that we need in the workplace, in whatever you're doing, to actually come up with ideas, own those ideas, develop those ideas, look at the bigger picture, to actually make a complete end result, and then present those ideas. And I think that those soft skills that music develops, and extremely effectively, are valuable across all sorts of jobs that they may go into in the future.
Ruti, would you agree with that in terms of that ability to work on things and be creative and flexible and go with the muse and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's, even if people don't end up going into the music industry, it's important for them to have that kind of creative ability to figure out like problems within their own path of work and things like that. Yeah.
Faye,
Yeah, I think that music is so much more than just about making music. It builds confidence for kids. You know, they work in groups and it's team working skills. There's all sorts of academic skills that are required, especially at GCSE and A-level, in terms of actually understanding the theory of music. I think it's as much an academic subject as it is a creative one. But also in terms of learning instruments and things like that, kids have to be resilient. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice. They need to understand they're not going to be good straight away. It could take years and years and years to get to a high level. And again, these are all skills that employers across the board are looking for.
I don't know if you've got any top tips for teachers working in departments who want to invest in technology. How should they go about that? How should they approach their SLT? Are there any guidelines that you have from your experience?
Yeah, for me, I was really lucky because I had a lot of support from our IT manager, who is also a bass player himself. So he really understood the importance of the pupils having the correct technology to send them out into the world. I would say to SLT that we need to be training these kids to industry standard. Otherwise, what's the point? There's no point teaching them on out-of-date equipment. It's really important that they understand what they're going to be facing when they go out into the world. And they're going to be facing a music studio with a Mac, with Logic, with Pro Tools, for example.
Ruti, difficult one, but why is music important for you? Why did you go down the music route? What's special about music?
It's my passion, I guess. I mean, I know that it's my passion, and I know that it's what I've been wanting to do, and that I found that I'm quite good at it, and it also helps with my confidence as well, because sometimes I find that I find it really easy to perform on a stage, but when it comes to talking like this, it's quite difficult. But through doing music and even kind of being on The Voice and having to talk to a lot of people and have a lot of interviews, I feel like I've grown in confidence. And also definitely going through school, having Miss Beamish and Mr. Taylor back at school to kind of just encourage me and support me and teach me how to use these skills that I have in a effective way. That's why it's
So Faye, to sum up, what impact has music technology had on your department? Could you do it without the technology?
I don't think that we could do it without the technology. We've had fantastic results over the last few years. All of our courses have achieved 100% pass rate. That's A-level standard and Key Stage 4 as well. And for the pupils to be able to compose in the way they do and create music in the way that they do, I don't think that we could do it without the technology. Even if our students choose to create music on their own instrument, be it a guitar, a violin, whatever it might be, we need the recording studio to be able to document that work, and that allows us to do that. They can then create their own sheet music from what they've played using the technology. I mean, it would take them hours and hours to work it out and write the music by hand. So the technology just speeds everything up, and it means that they can have more than one try at something. You know, they can just delete it and redo it if it's not right. And it's so fast and quick and easy for them. And I think that's enabled us to get the results that we have. So we could start, they investigate things, and then with a bit of guidance, that's not right, let's change that bit, and it's quick and easy.
Thank you. Before we finish, we wanted to allow a couple of minutes for questions. So if we've got our roving mic, if anybody's got a question, we're happy to take those. If not, we will be on stand, all four of us will be on stand B308 a little bit after, well, I'll get about 11:15 if you want to come there and talk to any of us about any specific things. But if there are any questions, there aren't. Good. Everything's clearly been answered, which is brilliant. So it just remains for me to thank our panel, to Andy, Faye and Ruti very much. Thank you for your time, thank you for your contributions, thank you for Ruti for her wonderful performances. What a great way to start a Saturday morning. And we hope you have a good time at BETT. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we give them another round of applause?